Hello everyone, welcome on the Open Podcast with Michael. Today I am blessed to receive on the show Jeppe Aagaard. He is an amazing man, an amazing husband, father, and a beautiful transformational coach. He is a transformative addict, and today we spoke about a lot of nice topics like the power of vulnerability, the journey of self-discovery, the illusion of materialism, embracing challenge as growth, trusting life, redefining masculinity, and so much more. If you want to know more about JP, all the link will be in the show notes. And please, if something resonated with you today, just share, leave a comment, leave a review, click the subscribe button. Also, I want to say that there is a little bloopers at the end, and I wanted to keep it on the show. So if you want to see it, just stay until the end. It's on the video. We had a little problem with the connection, and so be it. It's the Open Podcast with Michael. I'm wishing you an amazing day. Have an amazing episode, and remember, the world is at a better place with you, my friend. Thank you. So, good morning, Jeppe. How are you?
Very good. Cheers.
Cheers. It is a pleasure to receive you on the Open Podcast with Michael this morning. We started connected maybe 1 month ago when I just posted a story on Instagram. It was a story about like I had a very challenging moment at that time, and I find that on social media often we just post what is good, what is beautiful, and that day I just wanted to be fucking raw and true, and you didn't know me and you appeared to see my story, and you really connected with this kind of alignment and vulnerability. So I wanted to know first what made you connect with that. Why did you choose to reach out to me like that?
I think there was just so many parts of it that resonated, in particular. I remember, going through so many challenges, through my life, and oftentimes we just easily feeling so alone in all of it when we're struggling with it and experiencing it. And so when I saw that, I was just like, I really couldn't, encourage you enough because it takes such bravery and sharing what we're experiencing and going through. And you sharing a story there, I just wanted to pour as much support as I could on you and what you're experiencing, because so brave and such amazing work. So yeah, honestly, man, that's really what stood out to me there for sure.
And that's what's so nice is like you connected with me, and I felt a sense of like vulnerability and authenticity on your side. So I just went out to see your Instagram, and I was like, who's that guy? Like I don't know him.
Sure.
And I saw you posted a post about your story on your Instagram feed, and I really connected with the fact that um your life started changing at one point when you start prioritizing yourself, your true self, and being aligned with your heart. So I wonder, like, can you jump a bit more on your story and how this unfold like
Sure.
that? Because by talking with you, I know it's not always the case. So yes.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be focusing on an area of that story that I also think might be of use to the listeners here. Um, because in my experience, I think like a lot of us, we're growing up and we're experiencing certain challenges in our life that is getting in the way of us living our best life. And I think, what I found to be so confusing was that I realized that for the longest time, the changes that I wanted to create for myself in my life. In this case, it was around basically the main theme for me was heavy anxiety was like the main challenge for me. And I wanted to create this change here for myself. And I was so convinced, once I do that, everything is going to be changing for me. But I wasn't creating it from that perspective of actually, it sounds crazy, but I wasn't creating it from the perspective of increasing my quality of life. I was creating it from the perspective of getting more social acceptance. Yeah. So I
Mm,
was of the
yes.
belief that, oh, if I finally get to be quote unquote normal, if I finally get to be fitting in, I'm not awkward in social situations, like people can actually like me and all this, which was what I was longing for so badly. I was like, if I could get that life, and be normal, quote unquote, then my life is going to be perfect. And I reached that place, right? Because I was dealing with these challenges. But once again, it wasn't what I was looking for at all. And that's when I began questioning, okay, so what do I actually want? Now I've been doing all this personal work here to be fitting in, and it didn't really give me the change that I was longing for. Like, what do I actually want for myself? And that's when I really doubled down on this self-care. That's also a big theme of my community on Instagram, doubling down on the self-care here, and once again, really be honing in on how do we show up for ourselves in the greatest possible way? How do we prioritize once again what truly matters to us? Whether it be physical health, mental health, but really once again owning up to who we actually are and what do we actually long for in our life. So I hope that makes sense, explains the story here a bit.
Mm. And at that time, did you have like a sense of trust that your life will turn out for a greater good? Like you seem to live a pretty good life aligned with who you are.
Mm, mm. Oh, sorry, if I thought that at the time, or
Yeah. Was it in your mind, or you was just trying to fit in so you can feel good about yourself?
yeah. So my first, not gonna lie, like, my first idea of like the life that resonates the most with me was very much based upon materialistic things, right? Like if I can
Mhm.
get to take care of my anxiety, then I can get a high-paying job. I can be functioning in society. I'm going to be getting a lot of money, and I can be buying all the things that I think is going to make me feel better about myself. That was my first perspective. And then as I began, just being completely raw and honest with myself, I found out that what I was actually longing for was so different, so different. And once again, wasn't necessarily anything that cost anything. It's the what a lot of people will tell you, right? Like, but yeah, to me, it definitely resonated, and I found that that part resonated with me so much more strongly, if that makes sense.
Of course, it does make sense.
Mm.
And what made you realize that the material thing and all that stuff that you think you wanted was not the thing? Like, was there a moment that you remember, or a cataclysm, or something that was like, nah, that's not
Yeah,
it?
yeah, absolutely. I think most of us have that experience of like buying something that we really long for, and then getting sorely disappointed when we continue to be feeling insecure, when we continue to not feeling at
Yeah.
ease, when we continue once again still longing for other people's validation, worry about what other people might be thinking of us. That continues and continues. And for me, that was the exact same experience. Like you're getting all this, and then you're realizing that it doesn't really change anything.
Mhm.
When working with my clients, I also meet a lot of this assumption here that I want to get to this place. Could be a new car. It could also be I want to get to a place where I'm no longer struggling with social anxiety, all kinds of things. And the first thing I'm asking them is that, how do you think you're going to be feeling once you get that car? How do you think you're going to be feeling once you no longer, when you can be loved by others? How do you think that's going to making you feel? And most of the time, I'm going to say like 95% of the time, the answer is then I can finally feel good enough. And then the question here is that, well, are you then looking for a car? Ah, love it, man. And then, great, man. And then the question is, are you really looking for that car? Are you looking to be feeling good about yourself? If looking to be feeling good enough, if you're looking to fully loving yourself, I'm here to be telling you that path can be much more direct than this to first go make the money to be getting a car to then realize it's not going to change anything to then you can bypass all of that and go for once again exactly what it is that you're actually longing for. And we do this all the time, don't we? We hang up certain expectations on certain things. Could be finding the ideal romantic partner, being in this specific relationship, or whichever it is. And we connect once again assumptions to that that's going to be making me feel like that. And then we
Mhm.
wholeheartedly believe that until we realize that it really doesn't. And then yeah, once again we find ourselves back in the loop. And hopefully we get to a place where we are going to question this entire loop. But for a lot of us, we need to experience this loop like 5 times before we go, hey, this reminds me of something, right? Like last time I was saying the same thing. Here I am experiencing the exact same thing. And then once again, at one point, we finally get to be taken a step out of that.
Mm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love that, man. I love that
Mm.
you just put awareness into the fact that everything is from the inside out, not the outside in, right?
Definitely my experience, yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
And like on Instagram, you post about a bit about your lifestyle and stuff like that, and you seem to have like a pretty um relaxed lifestyle with everything kind of flow
Yeah,
with what your true core value seems to be.
yeah.
Um, and it doesn't look like a 9 to 5 job where you seem to work very hard to have the cash so you can have
Mm.
like the thing afterward, like you were talking with your client.
Sure.
I'm wondering, JP looks very happy. Is there a thing that he is afraid or is challenging right now? If you are open
Yeah,
to share.
always, man. Always challenges. Like I'm a father to 2.5 year old. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Like if there's any parents out there listening, maybe can relate, but like so my story once again, it comes down. It starts with anxiety for me, definitely. So anxiety has been a big part of my life. Social anxiety. Growing up, I was stuttering. I couldn't speak fluently, and yeah, it's a long story. But the main key thing was that at that time, I was so convinced I'm never going to be having a family. I'm never going to be a part of a
Oh.
family. But why would I? Because I can't even take care of myself. How can I possibly be taking care of another human being? And a lot of shame there, a lot of struggles there, and I was so convinced, this is not going to be a part of my life. And I also experienced this in working with my clients. It's like we tend to think once again that the ideal life is getting rid of the challenges. We tend to think once again that this is the best thing, right? Like I'm coming to a place in my life where I'm no longer struggling with things. It's going to be great. That's what's going to be making me happy. And in my experience, the more that I got to be working around and healing once again from the patterns that were creating the anxiety, the more I'm also almost like subconsciously pushing the envelope a little bit. You know what I mean? Like it's like, you
Yes.
know, if I wanted comfort, I would be working around my anxiety and then just stay there. You know what I mean? Like that would create massive comfort, right? Because I am completely sure where everything is, and I feel great about my life. But then I began realizing also it's like every single time that you're moving this comfort zone here, where I was actually living the most or where I was finding the greatest joy was not in having a place where everything is quite secure and everything is in order, which makes me feel comfortable. But it was once again allowing myself, to be growing, expanding,
Mm.
and so I find, that being a father, it's incredibly triggering for incredibly triggering for me. There's constantly things that can go wrong, and there's like things are constantly out of control, which is also something that I struggle with, having things being out of control. Um, but I find once again that it is exactly in those challenges. It is exactly in once again growing, learning new paths about, first of all, as a father here, working with being with your children, but also on a personal level, expanding, growing once again. It is in those challenges. It is in those moments that we label as triggering struggles. It is in those moments once again where I feel most alive as well. That makes sense. So the true joy I find doesn't come from being at a place where we just like everything is in order, everything is perfect. Now I'm no longer struggling. I'm no longer, no one can ever touch me here. The greatest joy I find once again comes in dealing with quote unquote challenges, dealing with all of this, but coming from a perspective once again where you're not feeling overwhelmed, which is very important.
Mm.
So being able to be dealing with it, but not feeling overwhelmed. And this is honestly also the work I'm doing together with my clients. We're not talking about getting to a place where we're just like a deity and no one can touch us. But it's about once again the self-care here, in my experience. It's about once again having the confidence to be challenging ourselves. It's having the confidence to believe that whatever comes my way, I'm going to be able to be handling it, and everything is going to
Mm.
be okay. And then going on that adventure that takes you, man, that is to me much more thrilling than what I was thinking back then. To be sitting in my apartment, everything being in order, me no longer being fearful. this here, it's much more, once again, what I find to be creating that true, not happiness, not momentary joy, but true fulfillment. And now I went on like a big tangent there, but does all that answer your question, or how does it feel to you?
No. That's perfect because I think that developing a sense of trust and peace within our own self, no matter what happened in life, is a superpower.
Yeah,
Because like you
yeah,
said, when you have to control everything in your life to feel good about yourself, then it's no longer life, because life is like a roller coaster of uncertainty.
yeah,
So you're just trying to prepare for something you don't even know. So it's like
yeah.
always having a foot on the gas and a foot on the brake at the same time. It's kind of a
Yes.
and I speak like I'm a master in that, but hell not. Like I've had my own big challenges, and the last 3 years with health and sickness and stuff like this, I went into a journey of like fearing food, fearing to not go to sleep, fearing to, because I had so much pain and so much suffering when stuff happened. And at one point, I just started to not label anything as something wrong. So if I have insomnia during the night, instead of being like, oh shit, I'll be tired, I cannot recover, I'll be more sick tomorrow, I will just sit within myself, feel the anxiety and being there with me. And then you can overcome whatever the fuck you want in life. But
Yeah.
isn't it so much more magical to live a life where you are like, bring me what's needed for me to evolve and to live a special life, than to be like, no, like, no, don't give me that stress, don't give me anxiety,
Yeah.
don't give me this. I just want like a perfect life.
Right.
But like in our mind, we are so limited. But if we start to open your life or life like you did, it's like life has space to bring you some stuff, you know?
Mm.
And I think that's where the magic happens, because look where you are. You step into a magical life for yourself because you allowed yourself to be with the anxiety and just focusing on what you really wanted instead of rejected what you didn't want it.
Yes. Yeah, powerful, man. It's so wonderful, so amazing of you to be sharing your own experiences here. Incredibly, incredibly powerful. And yeah, I completely hear you. For me, and I can only speak from my own experience and also what I meet in my work, but for me, the idea that I had in the past of like, I just want to be at a place where I'm no longer experiencing fear and anxiety, it
Mm.
came from an incredibly low confidence, low trust, because I was like, I'm not able to handle it. So I much rather live a life where I don't get to be experiencing it, if that makes sense. And then I found, through the personal work here, growing into this perspective here that, well, once again, if I am able to be handling it, I much rather, as you're mentioning here, be experiencing all that life has to offer. This is the adventure here in my experience. I know there's many ways to be going about it. I'm pretty sure that a few Buddhist monks in Tibet would would like really begin to challenge me in this one here, right? Because
Yeah.
I feel like that's a very different lifestyle. But I truly believe once again that like we are here to be having this human experience here, in my experience. And when I'm fully embracing this experience for what it is, not trying to escape it, that's when
Mm.
the greatest life happens for me. And I'm just speaking from my own experiences. But there's this quote here, and I'm probably going to be butchering it, but this says like, and it's actually a religious quote. It says, like yeah, don't ask God for a lighter carry, but ask Him for broader shoulders. You know what I mean? Like, don't ask for
Oh,
like
yeah,
less
yeah, yeah.
troubles, but less ask, for being more capable of handling it. And that sums
Mm.
up what I'm talking about here, without coding it in any religion at all. But this just came to mind here. I find that is really the major difference, because that gives you true freedom. If you're constantly trying to be pushing things away, not to feel anything, your peace is limited, because life is gonna get you, right? It's always gonna find its way, whether it be as a parent or it doesn't matter. Life is gonna find you, in my experience. And once we get to be carrying ourselves through it, the crashing waves, becomes an opportunity for surfing. And that's what I find, is in my experience, is the most fulfilling way of living life I've experienced so far.
Mm. Powerful. Powerful. And you butcher a bit a quote, but like, do you have any
A lot.
not religious background, but without entering too much into religion,
Go for
but
it,
do
man.
you have a sense of faith and trust around something bigger? Like, what's your point on faith?
Yeah, big one, right? I do have a faith around something bigger. Whether we as human beings have been able to fully get clear on what it is, like whether we're able to be describing it with words, that
Mhm.
part I'm a bit unsure of. Yeah. So I have big trust in faith. Religion, probably not so much, if that makes sense. So yeah,
Mhm.
so definitely big believer in something greater. But I'm also humble enough to I feel very humbled to begin to put that into words because I think it's not necessarily something that you can describe in my experience. If that
Love that.
describes it, yeah. Mm.
I love that. And honestly, for myself,
Yeah,
I'm trying to love it all, but I'm a bit tired of the world of like right or wrong and this religion against
yeah,
that
me
one
too,
and we
man.
are
Me
right, you
too.
are wrong, and we
Yeah,
are in a world where like I will talk like in the most civilized country where diet you cannot eat anything without becoming sick. Like there is video on
right,
Instagram, like you can see a guy like eating eggs. You think he's eating healthy, and then you see a video, don't eat egg. So he eat like
right.
vegetables, and he see another video, don't eat vegetables. Like everything
Yeah,
seems to be good or bad, right or wrong.
yeah,
I want to add your opinions on why do you think, and you may see it as with clients, like why do we
yeah.
have a tendency to judge everything as good or bad, and why we can just hold the it is.
Yeah, yeah. Well, first of all, I remember when I was looking into like marketing as a coach, that there was this advice here saying like, be anything but vanilla. Like the more controversial you can be, the more specific you can be on something, the more you're creating an opinion. And once again, you are attracting in a certain crowd. So I think it's in our human nature. Once again, we like when things are black and white. It's easier to understand, isn't it? It's much more complicated.
Mm,
You have to use much more energy on having to be making your own opinion and be trying out, does eggs work for me? It doesn't. Okay, does vegetable works for me? Does it make me feel great? Do I feel healthier? Yes, it does. Great. I'm holding on to that. And then you have to spend much more energy, and that's much easier. Just opening a book and just studying what the person's saying and just copy pasting that. Much easier than having to be
yeah,
making your own experiences. So I find, I think that's at the very core of it, but also I think, it's and my clients, they hate me because I'm always doing these cop outs, right? It's like, what do you think? And I'm like, well, what do you think? What do you think? Because I really don't believe in when serving others. I feel like I'll be doing them a disservice. Of course, I have certain tools that has worked for me. I find these tools here can be of help to them, but I always comes back to what is serving you. What do you feel? What does your intuition tell you? What do you find as the next step? And one thing is me telling them to do something and they have success with that. A whole nother level is them picking a decision themselves, going for it and having success with that. That to me builds trust. That to me builds confidence. So when we're no longer working together, they've already had the experiences of betting on themselves and having success with that. And I find for all of us, whether it be a client of mine or anyone, I find, that when you're trying things out and you're tuning into, did this work for me? Does it work for me? If it doesn't, if it does or doesn't, it doesn't matter because you are once again tuning into yourself and you're trusting your own experience and you're going from there. And this in and of itself builds confidence. So I find once again that it's much easier for us to trust social media and just rely on that. But the true power comes in when we're taking that power back and showing off ourselves in that greatest way. But man, I know it's tempting, isn't it? So many of advices out there, and so I completely understand, and something I can relate to personally.
mm. And talking as a man, talking about confidence, it's kind of the same way, you know. We have so many advice as young men and as
Hmm.
men
Sure.
to live a certain way to be considered like a real man. But
Yeah.
I have my own definition of what it is a man. And I think that you are a pretty aligned man with his core value, and he is able to hold the masculine and the feminine side inside of him, and I find that beautiful. So just want to acknowledge you there. What
yeah.
what builds you as a man? Like how were you able to step into that confidence and self trust around being really authentic with yourself without having to be the toughest guy in the world and you know.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah. Once again, it's gonna sound like a cop out this one, but I didn't even focus on it, to be honest
Mhm,
with you.
mhm,
I think in my experience, I don't know if I even rely on that perspective. Of course, once again, we need to be balancing, once again, these different areas here. I see a lot of videos, a lot of content on balancing the masculine and the feminine. And I find once again that when we're stepping fully into our authentic self, that's when this balancing here it happens automatically. So I think it is much more instead of relying or thinking about so much. I have thinking so much about I have to become a man. I was thinking much more about once again how can I be living my greatest life? How can I be once again creating the greatest possible life for myself and others? And in that, honestly, man, I feel like things took care of itself naturally. I know it's a big cop out. I know there's so much to be said about exactly that. But in my experience, once again, but I think a lot of us, we have to come to terms once again with also with this picture here of this like male ideal, isn't there? Because there's also a lot once again going around on social media, and we're all unique. So once again, it
mhm,
really comes down to us tuning into our authentic self. But thankfully, I feel like there's a big wave here of where we can begin to be more nuanced. And we're talking about the
mhm,
feminine, the masculine, but also once again having this nuanced approach here where we all once again a unique mixture of both of these sides here. And I think that's really precious. I saw it's really funny because I remember there was a time when those superhero movies, the one with Iron Man. You remember Iron Man?
yeah. Mhm,
This is gonna make sense. Yeah. So that at this point, once again, when these movies were out, you were like seeing Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man, all over motivational content, right? It's like he was in all these videos here, and he was really being praised as like, wow, this is like the guy you want
the
to be
goat.
like. This is confidence and the goat, yeah. And I saw the videos on charisma where he was like a case study, like they were like studying, like once again he was like the ideal, just like James Bond used to be in the past or something like that, right? We have these ideals here, and then I saw a really interesting interview with Robert Downey Jr., who plays Iron Man, right? And he was like, yeah, I know Iron Man as an icon is being used, right, as like the male representative of masculinity, right? This is what it's like to be like, a top guy, right? And the
Mm.
interesting part was he says, what is weird to me is that I played this character as highly insecure. I played this character here as highly insecure, that he constantly needs to be arrogant, he constantly needs to be dominating, constantly out of insecurity, not out of confidence. And I think that was so keen, isn't it? We're getting so often once again this idea here that confidence is being high and mighty. Confidence is masculinity, is being arrogant. It is being very like dominant and so on. And the question is, if we are truly resting in ourselves, is there any need once again to be displaying this very like old school old school perception of masculinity? Thankfully I feel like we're in a time now where there's much broader room for just being yourself, just being your authentic self, enjoying what you like, and then having the trust that once again, everything is going to be working out, that you don't need to be matching up to like a ideal of sorts. So I hope this, once again, a bit of a tangent. I hope this satisfies the question here.
don't, don't worry about making tantrum. That's the that's the goal of the conversation, right?
I guess so. Yeah,
Um,
you're right. Yeah.
yeah, I love that. I think that I saw this video. Was it on like Charisma on Demand or something like this?
I think it was just at least because I remember going through my YouTube shorts, and once again it was like this like Robert Downey Jr. in his Iron Man costume was just all over it. Like when I was watching motivational, sometimes I would see like inspirational videos, very nice, and then I would get suggested like tons of these videos here that were focusing once again on this character here, and you know, growing up, like we see to these archetypes here. I find that's like a reference point. But then I just find once again that if we continue to be relying on that once again, I think we're getting a very distorted picture of what we're supposed to be. And when we are struggling once again, what we're supposed to be and who we actually are, I find that that's when we're creating the greatest harm to ourselves and others. This constant conflict between I need to be like this and I'm not like this, and so on and so on. So I find that's what's doing the most damaging part, honestly.
Yes, and you mentioned a good point because yes, I think that we are in a time right now where consciousness is evolving and a lot of men and women and other genders start to arise and become authentic with their true self. But there is also like a kind of, like you said, a reference point where as young boy or boy and with motivation, like you said, we only see the Superman, the Iron Man, and we don't see the character beneath it. But
No.
we all, everyone looks like that in general. Like we are Michael, we are Jeppe, but we
Sure.
want to give the images of being super Michael and super Jeppe, but that's not
Right.
the fact. Like holding the part of us that is vulnerable and that is carrying so much stuff inside of us, it's so much important. It is something I do struggle to accept right now with what I've been going through is the working hard mentality at
Sure.
before sleeping and before living your emotion. And when I
Yeah.
was lying in bed when I get hospitalized, I saw a quote from Tom Billier, and he said, "Whatever the struggle you have, there is always one good solution, and it was
Mm.
work harder." And I'm like, no, no, you go say that to a child in an hospital bed. Go say that to a
Yeah.
woman who is
Yeah. So true.
only a mother of child without any husband and has to work and how 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 can you think only that way? And I cannot judge it because I was there. Like before
Sure.
getting sick, everything was about working harder and harder and harder so I can
Yeah.
achieve my goal. But life hit me with a 2x4 cosmic 2x4 to make me realize that no, it doesn't work
Yeah.
like that. But we get so tied and bound to those reference points that if we don't act in accordance to that, we feel this anxiety, referring back to what you're saying in the beginning.
Yeah.
So how can you um I would like to ask you like how do you get at ease with those not unpleasant feeling and with those challenging about around motivation and just stepping into what you really are instead of stepping into something that you do to become something that you are not.
Yeah. Honestly, I think it comes down once again to the building of confidence and self-worth. It comes down to nurturing that because eventually, the stronger that gets, this just becomes noise. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like it's just there. Like who gives a shit? You know what I mean? Like it's the way it is, and by all means, once again, which I think is also very interesting because Bill, he's also really big on whatever you think money is going to be changing for you, it's not going to change squat. Like he, of course, once again, but he talks a lot about how money's not the end goal, and
Mm.
honestly, I think for him he is in that drive of working. That's what
Mm.
rewards him and what he loves, right? Growing and expanding. And
Ah,
I
he
think
has
on,
a big growth mindset, of course. He
sorry.
has that. He has the growth mindset for sure,
Oh,
100%.
absolutely,
Like he is the
absolutely. Yeah,
goat
yeah,
in
yeah.
terms of growth mindset.
Sure. Yeah, sure. And once again, we all living different lives. We all are. And you're mentioning here, with your experience, absolutely. Also, when it comes down to being a parent, I don't know necessarily if more pressure is always it's
Mm.
always what is necessary, right? So it's like, yeah, if you're living a life, where everything is in your control, by all means go for it. Like this is the path forward. But honestly, and I don't know if this is what he means by it. He's pretty much by the grind, but you know, I would agree with him to the extent. that whatever the challenge is, I would say that the solution is growing, it's changing, it is evolving. I would say, for me personally, that is the answer, because I hear him. Um, it's getting very personal, which is also the point here of the podcast here. But
It's called the Open
before,
Podcast with Michael.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, a lot of the things that I needed to deal with in my life with my anxiety was around allowing myself to be feeling and experiencing. Like that was a big part of my anxiety, was that I was constantly feeling emotions, anger, sadness, grief, fear, but I wasn't allowing myself to be experiencing it. I was shaming myself for what I was experiencing and feeling. That was a big part of what was creating this pressure cooker here of anxiety. Like, I'm feeling this, I don't want to feel this, I'm running away and I'm running away, like constantly. And the root of that we can talk more about another day. But the main key here is that when I then were to be a father to a newborn, who is basically shouting, screaming a lot. A lot of you parents out there can relate. And, you know, for me, aside from being incredibly tired, hadn't slept in months, but aside from that, I came I came face to face still with parts of me that weren't allowing me to fully be experiencing emotions. A part of me was upset with her because, I'm doing everything that I can to satisfy you. Why are you still this mad? And I came face to face with my own shortcoming on allowing myself emotions. I had been coming a long way by all means, obviously with the changes, but I came face to face that there's still parts of me where I'm not allowing myself to fully be experiencing certain emotions. And in that moment, we can be wishing to be saying, oh, what's up with this? And like, be mad and all these things here. And then once again, this is where I feel like the most powerful chains come in, is because in our ability to be saying, there's something here I need to be working on. I need to be taking care of this. There's something here that I need once again to be exploring, evolving, changing once again here. And not to say that I'm not good enough. I'm not doing it from a place like I was in the past of like I need to change so I can fit in, but from a place once again here of like I feel like there's a barrier here. I feel like once again that once again I am robbing myself once again of the greatest experience. And so what I mean by this is, I feel like there's many ways to be working on it or working harder. And in my experience, it does come down to us getting completely clear on what are standing in my way right now, and how can I be, once again creating changes around that and evolving, growing with that. If that's what he's meaning, it probably isn't. But if it is what he's meaning, then I completely agree with him. You know what I mean? Like that part is resonating, if that makes sense.
Yes, of course. If it's what it was meaning, yes, of course, I do agree with that. Evolving,
Yeah.
I think that the power of words are really big. And
Yeah.
just by changing word like work harder and versus evolving,
Yeah.
growing, taking
Yeah.
care of, it's kind of different because
I
working
feel so
hard
too. Yeah.
is it like only working hard can be so misunderstood. But when you
Yeah.
talk about growing and evolving, it's like sometimes the most evolved thing you can do is rest and take time with yourself.
I hear you. I hear
But
you
you cannot do
completely.
that if you need to work hard, you
No,
know?
but it's also once again, and now I get into this tiring marketing talk here, but I feel like when Tom Bilyeu says work harder, I don't think honestly he's speaking to people like you and I who can work ourselves to exhaustion, and someone will need to pull us out of the office before we before we leave, right? Like there's just like this internal battery that just like
Maybe.
keeps going. It's a different, it's a different audience that needs to hear those exact words, that you need to be working hard. Um, but what I'm really happy about also is I think the conversation is also changing. In the past, we're talking about Tom Bilyeu, but Gary V, Vaynerchuk, he's big on marketing, and he used to every single video I saw with this guy, he was like talking about working hard, out of the grind, the hustle, and he was just going on and on about this.
And
And
fuck
now,
sleep.
sorry.
Just fuck sleep, fuck everything else. Just work
Yeah,
like from
exactly.
five
Like
to
you can work
mid.
like, and sure, sure. I mean, some people can. That's great. Does it serve everyone to be hearing it? I don't know, but now, once again, when I'm seeing his account, there's much more about do what fulfills you, do what resonates with you, do what makes you happy. He keeps talking about that, and I'm so delighted. I'm so appreciative. Like
Mm.
that's the conversation that we're having now. That's the conversation that
Yeah.
we're having. Do what you're passionate about because great man. If you're working on something that is your passion, everything is following through, you're loving it, by all means, go for it. But get completely clear on what are you working into? Why are you working hard? Are you doing it? As in my case, in my past, are you working this hard to be impressing someone once again, just so you can get to feel good about yourself? Are you doing it because once again it's truly something that's authentic to you? And I think that's that conversation we need to be having that with ourselves before we grind, we hustle our way
Mm.
into the ground, so to speak.
Yes, because it can become a slippery rope because
Mm.
you can, even if the intention at the beginning is becoming from passion, often some older patterns or pressure from society becomes
Yeah,
after. So in the
yeah,
beginning you are so aligned with yourself, but then a lot of things comes out. And for myself, one question I love to ask myself is, at the end of the day, are you happy? Like,
yeah,
or you work 12 hours, because it is something to work 12 hours and feeling fulfilled and feeling at peace. But it is
sure.
another thing to do 12 hours constantly stressed. And if you don't have like the money and the thing, you are like, "Ugh."
Yeah,
It's not the same
yes,
place. It's not about
no,
how hard you're working, but what is the state you are in when you're working.
yeah, true, man. So true. And that I feel like that's what really creates the fulfillment. For the longest time, I think like most people, my dream was like a sunny beach, lying on the beach, working, checking something, making money, and then going for a swim. That was like, so at least the basic was it like the least amount of effort for the maximum return. That was like at one point, that was like my greatest dream, right? I was like, that's going to be fulfilling to me. And I got to that place. Or once again, in my work, like doing very little for a massive, once again, reward, so
Outcome.
to be speaking. And it was just incredibly unfulfilling. Like it was so,
Mm.
it felt unlike anything like that I had tried before. It was very unsatisfying, and I feel like that was one of the big game changers for me. Because what I realized was, once again, it really comes down once again to how fulfilling the work is. It really comes down to once again whether the work you're doing is something once again that you're passionate about, whether it's something that is fulfilling, and that once again is what's creating the fulfillment. It sounds so simple, but so often once again, we are also being taught, that it's good to be doing very little and but just be receiving a lot. It's the goal of life is just to be once again taking time out completely. Once again, getting to the place of doing what you're passionate about, I find that is, yeah, that's more rewarding than honestly anything. Of course, you need a roof over your head by all means, but these two parts they tend to be following each other along as well, right? When you do something you're passionate about, you tend to also be creating really wonderful experiences and results with that.
Mm. That's beautiful. And also, I would love to maybe have just a little thing you
Sure.
said, and I know your mentality, so you don't, it was not intended to be like that, but in fact, you don't need to have a roof over your head too. Like I was listening to
No, I hear
Harinaki
you.
and,
Yeah,
and he was talking about, like, the monk, like, it's,
yeah,
is their fulfillment. So we are all in
yeah,
different universe with different
totally,
goals and stuff like this. But I think that
absolutely.
social media and stuff like this can blind what is your real
Yeah,
definition of fulfillment.
yeah, yeah. True.
That is sad because at some point all social media can be great. The working hard mentality can be great. The rest and just focus on some digital thing and make million can be good for other people. The all plant diet, the carnivore, like everything serves for a purpose. But when we are on social media, we have like all those kind of download and information that just mess with what we really want at the end of the day.
I hear you. And I feel like social media gets a lot of smoke, uh, for once again being presenting things to us constantly. And in my experience, though, if I go on my Discover page on Instagram, it's filled with hikes and tiny houses and camper vans. You know what I mean? Like so, talking about Gary Vee, and he said something that was like, oh, that was really, I think, it's a tough one for a lot of us to be swallowing. But he says, like the algorithm will display to you what you're searching for, like what you're into. The algorithm is going to be showing you that it's not, and this is, like I don't know anybody about technology, but the way he's saying is like, the algorithm is not making you depressed. You are depressed. That's what he was saying. And I know this is so hard to face because there was a time in my life where my search bar was full of things that I would think like I don't want to see this, but still I found myself clicking on it. And if anything, if anything, the Discover page here on Instagram is really a reflection of our, we call the reticular activating system, right? It's like what we're looking out for, what we're searching for. And if anything, once again, it's a reflection of that. Because once I got to get clear on that, I began, going in on what I actually liked, and I liked that. And it honestly, it took like half a day, and all of a sudden, my Discover page was completely
Yeah.
changed. So, once again, I'm no tech genius. I'm not gonna be sitting here claiming that I know about the algorithm on Instagram. But I must admit, what he said there, it definitely resonated with my own experience. And when working with clients, we talk a lot about, one thing is what are we feeding our body with? Like what food are we putting into our body? It's so key, right? Because we're sitting in front of this cup of coffee, or we're sitting in front of a cucumber or carrots, right? We know what we're putting into our body. But when it comes to our mind, it's much more fickle, isn't it? Like, we don't
Oh,
necessarily realize I just spent half an hour watching the news and I feel awful now, right? So, once again, I think it's important for us to be mindful of for sure. Absolutely.
yeah, and all those distractions can just um disconnect ourselves from within, which is where
Mm.
all the answer lies, right?
Yeah, so true. So true. Hmm.
And I'm curious, JP, do you have any visions or goals? Are you big on goals for the future? Like, what is your framework around just envisioning something that makes you fulfilled? Because you seem to be big on the present moment, which is beautiful. But do you have any kind of like vision board, goal setting, or stuff like that? And if yes, would you be at ease sharing?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm big on the visualization. I'm really big on that,
Okay.
especially
Okay.
when I was creating my coaching. The work that I'm doing now. This one small one-man business thing. When I was getting into that, it was kind of by default, because I was living here in the countryside, and I was sharing things what we were doing here, and people began reaching out, like how was I was sharing my story also, not as with the intent of like necessarily coaching, but people began reaching out, and we got in contact and talking more. And so I began, just sharing a few things, and it led to people really insisting on wanting to work together. So it kind of came about very naturally. And my takeaway here was I could never be visualizing that coaching was going to be making my life this fulfilling. The
Mm,
greatest things in my life, the greatest things in my life, was not something that I predicted. It was something that came by default, honestly. Meeting my wife, I didn't visualize her, uh, her, her once again being. She came about, and once again we clicked. Everything unfolded, and our daughter that we love, above all else, almost. Of course, once again she also came about. So my point here and takeaway, and now I guess I'm a bit a bit all over the place with this one, but I was visualizing around everything. I continue to visualize. But what I'm focusing on here is visualizing on something, a dream, a potential future here that gets me excited, that gets
mm,
me passionate, But then after that, after that, I allow everything to be unfolding in just the way that it's supposed to be, quote unquote. And I think
Amen.
that's the key here, because for so long I was visualizing on one particular thing, and even on days where it didn't, even months where it didn't excite me at all, I continued insisting, this is what I want, this is what I want. And that's when I began realizing, that the best things in my life, I never thought of those. It's because I have a glimpse where I was like, I'm just going to go with this. So I find in my experience, I visualize, I meditate every single day. Along with that, I also visualize. It gets me excited, but my visualization have changed. My visualization
Mm.
have changed in time. There was one time where I was visualizing myself living in an apartment all by myself because that was what I thought. This is going to give me a secure life without anxiety. Da, 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 da. Have I had I continued with that, man, I would never have met my wife and I would never have met my daughter. And that gets me emotional to be talking about because it's some of the greatest blessings I have in my life. And so, man, I would be so sad if I were to be living without that, man. So visualizing, absolutely, and then having great room for life happening, man. I feel like that's the adventure, isn't it? Like, that's what it's all about, I find. So, yeah, yeah. What about you? If I can ask you, what are your experience with the meditation at this moment here?
Just before answering, I just want to acknowledge you for being so pure and your heart within your heart is at the right place, and it was just beautiful to see how much love you express toward your wife and your
Mm,
daughter, and like
cheers, man. Thank
thanks
you.
for that, man.
Thank you, man.
So
Thank
for
you.
myself, everything changed in the last couple of years because
Yeah.
I dived deep into the power of the mind at the age like of maybe 12. So I
Yeah.
was starting visualization and thinking and goal setting, but from a place like we talked in the beginning that if I don't have this, I won't be fulfilled. But everything was unconscious, of course. And even sick, it was like that. So I was doing visualization so hard for 1 or 2 hours each day to become more healthy, to heal my disease, and but it again, it was from a place of where I am is not enough, and I won't be happy until I am recovered. And then I realized, no, that's not how life works. You find who you really are, then life meets you there. And
Ah,
I had the opportunity in June, to go to the big one, which is Kelsey's event. He is amazing. That guy is just a beautiful man in this world. And I had the opportunity to went on stage with Kim Duramo because she was talking about, like, you have to put an intention out there and then surrender to something bigger. And I felt
love
it. It connected with me. Like it is just what you said. It is exactly what you said. But I was like, fuck, I'm still afraid that if I don't do anything to heal,
it.
I
Yeah.
won't heal.
Yeah.
So I just raised my hand because she was doing some hot seat and stuff like this. And I went on scene with her, and she made me realize that once your intention is set and you just surrender to life, life will give you blessing and stuff that you cannot imagine. And from that on, no, my week were not always easy. No, I have struggled with health till to this day. But I have a sense of peace that life will bring me whatever is needed for my own evolution and for my own growth, and that will put me wherever I need to be the man that the universe has wanted me to be. So now I will say that my visualization has more become an emotionalization where I just try to focus on what I want to feel on a daily basis and letting life meet me there.
Love it. Love it.
But
Yes.
that's the challenge. How
Oh,
are you able to feel the emotion in advance?
sorry?
So the challenge is, and I think the key is, are you able to feel, for example, happy, proud, excited,
Yeah.
grateful before you have the thing that you want? So of course I want to be healed. Of course I'm sick of being sick. but are you
Sure.
able to be happy right now and at peace with what life throws you?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So this is, but it was a long process. It is a journey. It is a big journey because we are so used to focus on the outside world, like you were saying in the beginning, that we forget that everything starts from the inside.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And those moments, will also being revealed to us that I don't feel worthy of just being happy with the way that I am, right? Because I'm so tied potentially to what I'm able to be providing to others. What can I be doing? And now my health is getting in the way at this moment here. And that really opens up to this door here once again of fully embracing and accepting ourselves, which we need to in order to be feeling fully happy about ourselves, right? We need to be accepting that my worth is not tied to what I'm able to be
Mm.
achieving or whatnot. It flows, and that's really once again that's the invitation we're talking about here. This invitation to growing and evolving, which is not easy at all. Not easy at all,
No,
for
people
sure.
think that spiritual stuff and evolving and being at peace with yourself is something you do like for 1 week and then you're good, but
Sure.
not at all. You will have
Yeah.
the most dark night that you can imagine by stepping into the inside, but by
Yeah.
opening to those dark night of the soul and those
Yeah.
dark emotion, and I don't like dark emotion, those unpleasant emotions,
Sure.
you become a bigger container to feel all the emotions. So more space
Absolutely.
for sadness equal more space for happiness too, I think.
Yeah. Big time. Big time. And I think we're bound to always be experiencing a mixed bag of emotions, right? It's like no one can stay joyous or anything like that. But once again, it doesn't necessarily come down to, whether we're not experiencing something, but how are we handling ourselves going through all of it. And
Hmm.
yeah, knowing our worth and fully loving ourselves is definitely something that can be supporting us in this work here for sure. So yeah, absolutely.
And like you said, isn't it beautiful that never you could have thought about being a coach, but life deliver something to you that you feel now more fulfilled than you ever think you could be.
Yeah, yeah. It's the irony, isn't it? It's like, you're
Yeah.
so busy with all of your plans, and here comes something that you never knew, was going to be fulfilling to you, and here you are. So, yeah, it's humbling. And I think once we experience that a few times, that this happens here, then we also feeling more inspired to be like, oh, I wonder what else is out there that I'm not imagining right now. That's going to be making life even more exciting, more fulfilling. So I feel like it's that natural curiosity. But there was a time in my life where I was really scared of this thought here. Like I want things to be in control. I want things to be in order, and I cannot cope with the idea once again that I am not fully seeing the full picture at this moment here. So in order for me to get to that place, I need to cultivate greater worth, confidence, greater trust that it's safe for me to take a step out there, and life, yeah, it's gonna guide you. Um, because in the beginning I was being guided but by fear, right? I was like running around shit scared. And it comes down once again to being able to be, yeah, here goes again. I am not understanding this at this moment. I'm not understanding it, but I know from experience that this is gonna take me to where I need to go. And let's see where we go. Let's see where we're heading with this one.
I love that. It is the curiosity is so much valuable. I think it is a superpower when you are really curious about anything that could emerge in your life. One quote I love is Michael Beckwith. He just
Yeah,
said, "What is about to emerge? Like always be like a child looking for a gift. Like who?
sure.
Well, I wonder like what can emerge right there." At each
Yeah,
situation, even the bad one, like what can
yeah,
emerge from the sickness? I can
yes,
write you a list long like that of beautiful things that emerge from being shut down because of the health
yeah,
situation.
yes,
But it
yes.
always comes down to the curiosity that you have to look life with another perspective.
Yeah,
Like I could have been a victim from day one till today. Poor me, life sucks. I'm
sure.
I'm sick, and
Mm,
probably I cannot say it because it doesn't happen, but probably that I wouldn't have the same thing that I had today. I wouldn't have the same
No,
opportunity. I wouldn't have started my podcast because
no.
I was curious, and I was curious about there is a reason. I might not know the reason, but there is a reason.
Yeah, so true.
Mm.
So true, man. Love it. Yeah, absolutely.
It is powerful to speak in that way, because I think that's where true faith arises. It's not about who you praise, or Jesus or Buddha, or whatever, but are you able to trust life?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And yeah, yeah, that's massive work, right? It's creating that overall trust. Because trusting life is also trusting ourselves that whatever life introduces, we're able to handle it.
Mm.
That's also a big part of trusting life, right? So we talk about letting go and give into the universe, you know. Well, if I'm in my case in the past, if I'm terrified that I'm not gonna be able to handle anything, like anything scares me, anything creates anxiety for me, then of course I'm not willing to be trusting the universe going forward. So of course this comes down to the work, learning to be trusting ourselves and yeah, showing up for ourselves in whichever situation that we're experiencing.
Mm. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And it comes back full circle to or confidence and trust within it, and self-worth that we were
Mm.
talking in the beginning. Um, what is the, I'm curious, what is the thing you're most proud of? Talking about confidence and within your own life.
Oh. Mm. Yeah, I mean, what jumps to mind right away is my daughter. It's my daughter.
Of
But
course.
I also, you know, not in the sense of like a pacing parent, you know, that is like, look, like, you know, she's, you know, not like that at all, but just like, um, just like once again, she's a very curious person, right? Like she's very energetic and you know, she loves like, you know, exploring things and always open towards new things in life and you know, taking a lot of initiative all the time. Uh, you know, and you know, just very open-minded, you could say, towards the world around her and to see her be this open around her surroundings. It reminds me once again of my own upbringing and when I was like terrified, terrified, you know, of so many things. And you know, so to be witnessing life through her in that sense, in that case, yeah, I don't know necessarily if it's making me proud, but it's just it's just a feeling of completeness there. You know what I mean? Like there's like a feeling of being of everything falling into place in a way.
Mm.
Not because once again of the way that she is or anything like that, but there's just mm, yeah, I feel like I'm disservicing you on this answer here because it's just once again in this experience here with the life that we're sharing together, with the experiences that we're having together, with watching life unfold in this way here before my eyes, there's a great sense of being proud about that, but not necessarily hatching it onto something, you know, not like I'm proud of her because she's doing this, or I'm proud of myself because I was able to do that, but just like an awe around life itself and this feeling here that I get to be having, you know, when I'm proud once again. Don't get me wrong, I'm incredibly proud of myself, and when I'm stepping into that, I feel complete, right? I feel like it's a completion here about that. But where I feel the most whole, the most complete, is just taking a step back and just you know, being a spectator to this life here. In this case here with her, because you know she is such a mirror of my own life and everything that I've been through myself. And yeah, you know, that really makes me speechless in that sense. So I guess if I that's the big question. The easiest answer would be, you know, also incredibly proud of myself because once again, you know, um, uh, a lot of people were able to help me along this way here, but I also know what I've had to be putting in myself to be getting to this place here and get to be having these experiences. And I'm not denying any of that and taking anything away from that. So I am incredibly proud of myself and the work that I've done through the years. Just like I am incredibly proud of you when you're telling your story, and I'm incredibly proud of my clients and the people that I meet in this world. I think we're all doing everything that we possibly can. And I'm not saying this, as like this is my honest,
It's true.
once again experience. Um, and then once again, yeah, it's just continues to unfold. So I know this was like a really, really watered down answer for you, but this is the most close I can get to this one.
Man, I couldn't have dreamed of a better answer. And if it is what came from you, from within your
It definitely was.
heart,
Uh,
it was the thing needed for the people to hear right now.
you're
You
right.
know, all my
Yeah,
questions and
really
all
was.
those discussion is not about getting something, but about letting unfolding what needs to be there at that time.
Sure.
So
Yes.
thank you for your
Powerful.
pure answer, because you could have
Thank you too,
restrained
man.
yourself and say, I will only respond like a small answer because I don't want to
Sure.
go too into the nitty stuff. But no, that
Right.
was beautiful. Thank you, man. So I don't want to, I really want to, thank you. I really want to be responsible for your time and my time too. Man, it was
Sure,
a
man.
beautiful conversation.
It was.
But before we close off, I have five final questions, and I
Go
am
for it.
also asking you to ask me one question. It is only a small
Yes.
concept that I have
Love
on
it.
my show, but
Love
just
it, man.
before that, I want to know, where can people find you or support you or reach you? Yeah.
Yeah. Mainly on Instagram, by all means.
Okay.
It is definitely where, yeah. So my name there is it's my Danish name. Somewhat hard to, but it's my name, Jeppe Aagaard. And I think you can probably find me if you're writing Jeppe Coach. I think I'm gonna show up there because very few people out there,
Okay. I'll put
doing
the
this.
link in the show note.
Yeah, go for it, man. But Instagram is definitely like the greatest place where I'm the most active. Also on
Okay.
YouTube, Facebook, but yeah, Instagram is where I share the most, definitely. So there, I would say that, yeah, Instagram.
Great, man. So start with your question, then I will walk on with my five last one.
Uh, a question I wish to be asking you. Okay, man.
You
Um,
can take a small time to reflect, but just
no,
and
no.
and I and
What came to
I
your
need
mind?
to answer. I have to answer it.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. No, but what came to mind immediately? What came to mind immediately was we talked about uh, the sickness here that you're mentioning here, being sick and all of it, going through all of once again these health challenges here. I wish to be asking you, what has been your greatest experience? What has been your greatest lesson from going through these challenges here?
I think that for me, sickness was a mirror to a lot of things. The first one would be of all the identity I hold myself to feel love. So the athlete one, the masculine dominant one, the beautiful man one, the invincible, the competitor, the achiever, the perfectionism, and make me realize that I was none of that. That could be the first one. The second one, um, no matter what you're trying to achieve in life, if it comes from a place of lack, you will never find fulfillment. But if you focus on loving yourself with all of your dark side, you will find yourself. And if I can add a third one, and this is like, I know it, but I have not reached a point where it's fully embodied, but forget and I don't want people to get real specific about the word I will use, because I'm not Christian or something like that. I have my own faith about something bigger, so the universe. So I will use the word universe. For me, it is less about. I realized that we never really know what we want in life until we give it a big part to the universe, because the ego is so sneaky, and it always can come back and use a part in your life to trick you to believe that something out there will fulfill you inside. So for example, being healthy. Of course I want to be healthy. I'm tired of not heat. I'm tired of being fatigued and stuff like that. But what if sickness make me meet the wife of my dream, and make me find alignment and a holy relationship, and find alignment with my true core value that I thought that was possible only if I could heal myself. So yeah, surrender a lot to the universe and you will be blessed, I think.
Beautiful. Amazing, man. Wow, so inspiring. Incredibly inspiring.
Thank you,
Really
man.
powerful.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you for the questions. So on the final note,
Sure.
if you open yourself to the world, what is one thing you are afraid that people see in you?
Personally, like if I open up to a world, ooh, big question. Mm, I think it would have something to do with imposter syndrome.
Okay.
I feel
And
like,
authenticity?
yeah, like it's so interesting because I have colleagues from all over the world where the work that I'm doing, and you know, like I am just incredibly humbled that people find once again that they wish to be working together with me on creating the changes in their life. They could be choosing from like all over the world, and here we are doing this work together. And I just don't take that responsibility, that selection. I don't take that lightly, and I think it's honest. I think it's a good thing. Um, but I feel like once again humbled every single time that you could be choosing by all these people here, and here we are having this conversation here, working together. I never take that for granted. I'm incredibly grateful for that. And though in those moments, once again, I can also be feeling like, once again, I wish when I'm working with clients, I wish that I am, the best possible match at that very moment for them. If I had the slightest feeling that they could be better off with someone else, I am not shy for sending them in another direction. Um, so I think definitely, it's like there's always once again this excitement here and also this awe that once again, get to be working together with such incredible people. And I find once again, there's a humbleness there. So I think that answers the question here of like, once again, um, yeah, yeah, once again, taking this quite seriously when going into this work here. So I hope that answers the question here.
Yes, 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 of course. Great, thank you. The second one is, yeah, if you could say something to the entire world and they will listen to you right now, what would you say?
Oh, yeah, love yourself.
Love yourself.
I think, yeah, I think, ooh, that's where it all begins. I find once again that through the self-love, it's also where we begin to love others. I know it's such a cliche, but I think there's a reason why it's a cliche. I think there's a reason
It's
why
true.
a lot of wisdom talks about that, right? Like, you get to be fully proud of yourself. You're able to be proud of others. You get to fully love yourself. You're going to really love others as well. And it's just the truth. It's just the truth. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Amen.
Of course, once again, it's not. Yeah, I mean, it's of course comes with the work. So don't get me wrong. It's not about once again pretending that we're loving or anything like that, but it's like getting down to really be there for us. As you're mentioning, also yourself embracing those quote unquote dark sides. Once again, allowing all parts of us and be accepting and embracing of that, fully acknowledging who we are. Because like I am really, I'm feeling way more fulfilled than I ever been in my life. I can say that. Like I don't know if I'm any happier than any others, but I'm only thinking about my own past and what I'm experiencing now. But I still have days now that winter is coming, the days are getting shorter, you're getting way less sunlight. And that can be irritating. Don't get me wrong, right? So on
Yeah.
some morning runs, I'm listening to Metallica for like, like half an hour and like just like running away and the sweat is pouring. Like I also get these emotions here, but now when I get to feel it, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be like a Metallica kind of morning. You know what I mean? Like I'm more excited about it now. I find it to be funny and to be kind of exciting to be feeling that emotion for quite a while. Whereas before I was like, whoa, why am I feeling this way? And like, like, oh, shame on me. And like, I should be feeling this other kind of way all the time, right? And so I find, yeah, I really find once again the love here yeah, that's what it's all about in my experience.
Yes. Well, love your neighbor as you love thyself, right?
Boom, vice versa. Yeah.
Um, just the third one is complete the metaphor. So life is.
Sorry.
So you have to complete the metaphor, complete the
Yeah.
sentence with a metaphor. So, for example, life is a dance, life is a
Yeah.
battle war, whatever the fuck you want. I
Yeah.
hope it's not a battle war. So life is.
Life is, I'm gonna say incredible. I use incredible a lot. When I'm recording videos and voice notes, I'm using the word incredible a lot because incredible doesn't necessarily say joyous all the time or doesn't necessarily say comfortable or it is just mind blowing. You know what I mean? Like it's just beyond. And I think once we get to a place where we're not afraid of embracing that ride, everything changes. So I would say incredible. Yeah, I love that word, and it also fits the, I think.
Yes, amazing. And you touched about something very nice, which is sometimes we can be afraid of living an incredible life because we can be
Yeah,
used to the struggling and everything. But can we allow ourselves to receive that life is fucking incredible and that we are the one
yeah,
mess all that up?
yeah.
My last one.
Mm,
My last one before an activity, which is kind of very funny.
go for it.
If I can pray for you tonight, what should I pray for?
Oof, oof. Um, that I'm being guided with grace. Yeah,
Love that.
that's really all I'm asking for. I'm like, I feel like everything that's gonna come my way is already heading there, whether it be, whichever experience it is. And I find at least, I don't want to be without any of it. As we talk about here, once again, it's like, you don't know what you want. You don't know what's best for you. So, you gotta also have that wiggle room to let go of that. But of course, I wish once again for the ride here to be with the greatest grace, not comfort, not, but grace here. Yeah, please, man, pray for that. I appreciate
Of course, I'll do it for sure.
you.
So the last one comes from Cassie, is the man I spoke about earlier.
Yeah,
It's called a caligo. So a caligo, it is. So you will speak, for example, like if we talk in 1 year, but
yeah.
we will talk like in the past. So for example, we have a talk in 1 year and you will say like, you will start
Oh,
the answer like, do you remember Michael when we were talking 1 years ago? Like I cannot imagine like my little girl is 3.5 years and you
oh,
talk
that's
about
a cool
the
one.
life
I
you
love that
want.
one.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
1 minute. So start with,
yeah.
do you remember Michael, and then go forward.
Okay, so I'm referencing something that has changed now, essentially. I love that one.
Like if you have lived the most beautiful life you could have dreamed of.
Oh, in the past, or yeah,
So you speak in the past, but you are in the future. So we spoke
yeah,
in September 2025.
Yeah.
and everything
Oh.
has gone the way you wanted in life.
Okay. Whoa. That's like that way. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. So like what's gonna happen? And it's funny because I'm doing very similar exercise with my clients. I call this letter from our future self. It's somewhat similar, I guess.
It's
Yeah.
exactly the
Yeah.
same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Cool, man. I like this one. Yeah, that's a really funny way to be looking at it. So it's essentially what I'm dreaming about, essentially, is what is going to be revealed in this, right?
Yes. But if it
Mm,
has happened,
I love that. I love that. Okay, cool, man. Uh, you know what, Michael? You wouldn't believe what has happened.
huh?
Um, um, my daughter is really thriving in her daycare, uh, which makes me incredibly. It is so funny to be speaking this way here, which I'm really excited about. And my wife and I, we had the most amazing wedding. It was just incredible, and
Congrats. I've lost you.
things have happened. Oh, can you hear me?
Damn it. Yes. Yes. Okay. I can hear you right now. Are you there? So my internet is pretty perfect.
Yeah, can you hear
It I cannot. Damn it. Life
me?
life didn't want you to speak your Caligo. Now I hear you. I don't see you, but I hear you.
Yeah, can you hear
Yeah,
me?
now it's good. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Don't know what happened there. Yeah, we ran into a glitch. No, but what I want
So you were saying about your wedding. God damn it.
to, like to say, this is a bit of a cop out. I would like to say that um, so many things happened that I never expected. Um, but I'm feeling more fulfilled than ever. I like that to be
Man,
the last last thing
I
on
love
my
that.
minutes.
May you be fulfilled, may you be in grace, and I want to congratulate you for your wedding. It's beautiful. Man, it was an honor.
Mm.
It really was. And I'm wishing you all that you've asked for and more,
Cheers, man. Love it.
even
I
more
love this
that life
exercise.
can bring you.
Likewise.
Amen, brother.
Yes, man.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for taking the time. Thank you for Jeppe. Thank you for all the listeners. Thank you for the moment. I just want to encourage you, if something resonates with you, to share it, to leave a comment, to bring me feedback so that I can bring more to this journey, so that I can bring more to you, to my invitees, to me, to the world. I hope everything resonated with you. I hope you will have an amazing day. I hope that you are on your journey, and I hope that this man today inspires you. I'm just sending you much love, much peace, and I'm praying for you as I'm praying for Jeppe. Please, please, please remember the world is at a better place with you. May love be with you, my friends. Have an amazing day.